Today's topic is celebrating 100 episodes of Write, Fix, Repeat with 5 tips from the 5 favorite videos of the past 100. So if you've got 5 minutes, or maybe a few more minutes than that today, then I've got 5 tips for you from those favorite videos. Well, welcome to episode 100. As you can see, we're celebrating today. It seems to be a little bit of a milestone, and a milestone worth celebrating. When I started this little YouTube channel a few years ago, my goal was to provide some quality content for writers who are interested in producing quality work, regardless of genre, whether they're writing fiction or nonfiction, and any subgenre underneath those. I wanted to be able to make a contribution. And I thought that because of my background, I had something that I might have to offer. I began my writing journey, as many people do, as a teenager writing short stories. By the time I was in my late 20s, I was doing health, fitness, and medical writing because of my background in healthcare and communication as a freelance writer, in addition to my regular 9-to-5 job. And it was that background that took me into writing my first books. When I transitioned into academia, of course, I found myself writing a lot of academic articles and eventually textbooks. And I also found myself teaching in the corporate communications program, teaching news and feature writing to undergraduates. And this material that I was able to teach came from my own experience largely. Now, over the years, I realized that the fundamentals of good writing and understanding publishing transcended genre, and I also started writing fiction. And my publishing journey has also been interesting because I started, of course, strictly with traditional publishers with contracts from a number of large publishers in Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. And eventually, my own corporate structure that I worked within, I published my own work, some of my own work that became eventually sold to another publisher. So I started on a bit of a journey into self-publishing, found it so interesting and so fun that I started publishing some of my own work. So I learned a lot over the last 35 years about the writing and publishing industries and about how to write and how to write well. So when I looked back on all of these videos that I've done over the last couple of years, all these 100 videos, I decided I would have a look to see what were the most popular ones, which were the ones that were the most watched. And I would look at those particular 5 videos and see if I couldn't pick out a tip from each of those favorite videos that might apply to a variety of different kinds of writing. And that's what I've done. And so here are my 5 tips from 5 favorite videos over the last couple of years, over the last 100 episodes of Write, Fix, Repeat. The most watched video of all of the videos that I've done is video number 10, called How to Improve Your Nonfiction Writing. And here's what I consider to be the best tip from that video. So my tip number 1 is this: learn to apply the elements of fiction writing to nonfiction. Setting, characters, dialogue, and drama. Now, first I have to tell you that I was surprised that the most watched video of the channel happens to be on nonfiction writing, which is, of course, where I started my writing career. And the tip that I've picked out is one that many nonfiction writers have never really thought about. The traditional elements of fiction writing are what bring nonfiction writing to life, which makes your narrative nonfiction, and arguably prescriptive nonfiction as well, a cut above the rest. The next most watched video was video number 4, Tips for Tightening Your Writing. And the tip that I've chosen from that one is one which can resonate across genres and across many aspects of your writing. So tip number 2 is read everything that you write aloud. I've said this on a number of occasions for a tip for a number of different things. It does so much for you. As one approach to tightening your writing, it's very helpful for you to be able to hear the redundancies that you have, to hear the excess verbiage, the words that you don't need. When you read it out loud, you can often hear that. But you can hear so much more. You can hear things like voice and tone. It can help you to not only tighten your writing, but it can help you to improve your writing and the way you write. And if it makes you feel a little silly to read your stuff out loud and you need an audience, well, read it to your dog, or read it to a stuffed toy, or maybe even read it to an open-minded partner in your household. Don't just read it though. Listen to it. Make sure you hear what you're saying. Listen to every word as you read. Pay attention. The next most watched video was video number 6. Tips to avoid writing errors that drive editors crazy. I've done a couple of these kinds of videos because there are more than 5 errors that drive editors crazy. If you ask a bunch of editors, and I do periodically, what drives you crazy? And I've edited a lot of work myself, and there are some things that drive me crazy. And it's hard to pick out what is the most important one. There are so many. However, what I'm going to share with you is the one that drives me crazy when I read work that other people have written, when I see things that people post online, when I read the newspaper sometimes, and this error is demonstrated. And it's very common, it's very simple, and it drives me and a lot of editors nuts. So tip number 3 is understand the difference between using the word that and the word who. It seems very simple, but it seems to be something that people get wrong a lot. Here's an example. Choose one of these. She's a woman that knows what she wants. Or she's a woman who knows what she wants. I hope you know that she's a woman who knows what she wants. She's a person, and who refers to people, that refers to things. The next most watched episode was episode 71, Tips for Becoming a More Disciplined Writer. I happen to think that writers who are searching for this kind of material on YouTube or online in general are serious about their writing. They want to become disciplined and understand that it requires discipline. For most writers, perhaps even all writers, writing initially is an add-on to something else that you do. You may have a goal to be able to make a living from your writing someday, but the truth of the matter is that most people need to make a living doing something else while they're writing. So discipline becomes extremely important. So my tip number 4 from this video, and for your writing in general, is learn to set priorities. I suggest a 3-tier system. The need to do, the nice to do, and the nuts to do. And if you can categorize the things that you have to do into these 3 categories, then you know where to begin. You know the things in your life that are the need to do things. You need to do the grocery shopping. You need to pick the kids up from school. You need to do some cooking. You might need to clean the house, although arguably that could go into the nice category. But those are things that need to be done in order for life to continue. Then there are the nice to do things. It might be nice to spend Saturday night watching a Netflix show. It might be nice to offer to babysit your sister's kids, but they're not need to do things, they're nice to do. And then there are the nuts to do things. Things like mindlessly scrolling through your Instagram feed or looking at TikTok videos of cats. Those are nuts. And there are probably other nuts things in your life that you do and you know that you don't have to do. They're not even really nice to do. They're just things that waste your time. Remember, in terms of setting priorities, is do the most important things first. Then you'll always know that they've been done. And finally, in 5th position for the most watched videos on my channel is episode 70, Tips for Figuring Out If Your Writing Idea is a Good One or Not. This was a bit of a surprise for me as well, although maybe it shouldn't have been. People who are real writers never need to go on a Facebook writers group and say, have you got any ideas for writing? Real writers have ideas, and lots of them. And the problem is not coming up with an idea. The problem is trying to figure out which of those ideas that come to your head every day are actually good ones that you might pursue, that worth spending your time on. And oftentimes I see that people are wanting to write a book and they want to know if their idea is a good one. And so here's my tip number 5 for you. In terms of figuring out if your idea for a book is a good one, someone told you to write a book about it. This is probably one of the worst reasons for you to write anything, much less a book. I happen to think that writing about personal angst is also a very bad reason for writing a book, but this is probably worse. If you're only doing something because somebody suggested that you do it, then just walk away from it. Now, I will say that if you've had an idea about something and somebody says to you, that sounds like a really good idea for a book, maybe you should think about that. If it's an idea that you came up with and that resonates with you, and someone else has just reinforced the idea that you should write a book about it, then maybe you should consider it. But if somebody comes up with an idea that has not resonated with you, it has never occurred to you to write a book about it, but they say you should write a book about that, something that you're talking about, that's not a good idea. And I'm going to give you my bonus tip, and it's the tip that I used to tell my students in corporate writing all the time, and it's a tip that resonates across all genres, and is this: never bore your reader. That is sin number one for any kind of writing, is to be boring. So the bottom line for me is that interaction with all of you dedicated writers over the last 99 and 100 episodes of Write, Fix, Repeat, it has inspired me to write a book that kind of encapsulates all of the materials that have been most important to real writers like you out there. So as a result of that, I'm writing a book about writing a book. So my book about writing and publishing your book in a year is going to be out soon. Maybe I'll share it with you when it's ready. Happy writing.
Subscribe to Write, Fix, Repeat, and maybe I can help you improve your writing knowledge and skills, 5 tips at a time.